Welcome to the part 6 of lung function test 5-minute series. In the last part, we discussed about why lung volume estimation is needed and what are the techniques. Today, we'll be talking about the dilution techniques. So the dilution techniques, as I said in my previous talk, were two: the helium dilution and the nitrogen washout techniques. They both are methods with a closed and an open circuit and help us to estimate the functional residual capacity. Talking about the helium dilution method first. Now the name suggests there is a dilution. So there is actually a wash in of an inert tracer gas, which is helium in this case, which can also be argon, such a gas that we can easily detect through our analyzers. So what we are essentially doing is we are diluting it in the patient's system, in the lungs of the patient. We already know the volume of the gas we are putting in. We already know the concentration of the gas we're putting in. And then we are asking the patient to breathe multiple times in a closed circuit system. So when your patient will start breathing multiple times, the system's concentration and volume and the patient's concentration and volume will be equilibrated at a point. And by using the law of mass conservation, we will be able to determine the volume inside. So this is how the system actually looks schematically. You will have a spirometer. Most of the times you'll have a volume spirometer. So a spirometer, you will have helium and oxygen mix and the gas circulation pumps. You will have analyzers that are going to analyze the helium, a helium meter, and blowers that can mix the air in the entire system, and carbon dioxide absorbers that will absorb the expired carbon dioxide to prevent its volume from over or underestimating what we are going to be estimating finally. So we start with the patient's known volume and a known concentration. So the spirometer is first started and gotten ready with a known volume of helium in the spirometer, and the valve is closed and is connected to the patient who has an unknown volume of air in his lung at the end of normal tidal expiration. Once the valve opens, the patient breathes in and out multiple times, and when the patient does that, there will be a point where this volume and this volume should be similar, and the concentration final should also be equivalent, and this is the principle of this test. So the patient is switched into the breathing circuit using a valve. Now the blower mixes the air and a concentration of helium enters and oxygen, and now this whole system contains the same concentration and volume. So this is the spirometer's volume. This is the concentration we had started with, about 10%, and then the breathing and rebreathing multiple breaths occurs, and now we've achieved a concentration, say 5%, at which an equilibrium has been achieved. So the time taken for this step is usually 3 minutes. For a 10% mixture in a system volume of around 6 to 8 liters to equilibrate with our patient. And if your concentration of helium, which is depicted on the monitor or the meter over a 2-minute period, doesn't change much and the change is less than 0.02%, we say that equilibrium has been maintained. If the patient is not able to breathe in and out multiple times, we wait for a maximum of 10 minutes, but then we have to stop the test. Now this end concentration of the helium will be determined. The volume of the system initially and the volume of the system now will be seen. The volume of the breathing valves, the circuits, the tubes, that those dead volumes, they will be added. And then we will ask this patient to have a slow vital capacity maneuver from his functional residual capacity to a normal maneuver to assess the expiratory reserve volume, and then we will use it in our formula. So now once the patient starts breathing in and out, at a stage there will be this plateau where a fixed helium concentration will be maintained and the test will be terminated, and we will know the final concentration. Apply the law of mass conservation, C1V1 equals to C2V2. We started with a known concentration and volume. Suppose it was 9 liters volume of the spirometer and 10% helium, and then we had a final concentration which included the volume which was already in the lungs and the new volume that was put in the lungs and the new concentration. So let's apply this. C1 V1 is C2 V2. So we started with, say, 9 liters, we had a concentration of 10, and then the final volume V2 into final concentration, say 8%. So we know V2 now. But remember, V2 is a culmination of V1, which was the initial volume in the spirometer plus the volume in the lungs. And so we know the volume in the lungs. So VL we can determine, and that is our functional residual volume. The next test that we do is the open circuit multiple breath nitrogen washout technique. Here it is a washout. So we are trying to wash out the nitrogen from the lungs, and this patient is breathing 100% oxygen. So we know when we start with the test, the oxygen concentration is usually that of the atmosphere, is 75 to 80%. That's the known C1. The nitrogen volume after ending expiration, the end tidal expiration, is the FRC. This is what we are estimating. This is the V1 or the unknown volume and the final concentration and volume. So we start with the lungs. We are asking the patient to breathe 100% oxygen. The patient continues to take multiple breaths for around 6 minutes, and we estimate all the volume that is coming out of the lung into a Douglas bag, which can be used for measurement. And this concentration in the Douglas bag and the volume in the Douglas bag is our final concentration and volume. Let's apply the law again. C1 V1 is C2 V2. So let's, for example, say that the patient had 80% nitrogen in his lungs to start with, and the final concentration of nitrogen after breathing in and out for 6 minutes was 4% in the Douglas bag. We do not know the initial volume in the lungs, but we know how much volume he has inhaled through the spirometer, which is, say, 50. So 80 into V1 is 4 into 50, and then this gives us the volume of V1. And once we know the volume of V1, which is our functional residual capacity, we can calculate the residual volume by subtracting the expiratory reserve volume, which again, like helium dilution, we can get after ending our maneuver with this SVC maneuver. And if you need to estimate the total lung capacity, all it takes is to put in this residual volume along with the inspiratory capacity that you can get with spirometry and get a total lung capacity. So this is how we do it. This is what the graph looks like, and at the end, this area under the curve will not change much. So you have a constant nitrogen monitoring, and that is how you know that the concentration has been achieved. So much like the helium method, the only thing is this is a washout method. There are a lot of pitfalls of the dilution method, so they are not sacrosanct, and so body plethysmography is the next logical step. One of the pitfall is that you are inhaling a known concentration and a known volume, but when you're expiring, those areas of the lung which are less contributory, say an emphysemitis, bleb or bulla, or a part of the lung which has fibrosis, they will not contribute to the final volume. So what you are estimating may not be the correct one. The other thing is we're always starting with end of expiration. So ERV. If you do not calculate ERV correctly, the whole formula goes wrong. If there is a leak in the system, because we are assuming that there is no leak from outside, then the readings is erroneous. And if the patient's tidal volume is not regular, there may be changes there. Also, there is a special error called a switch-in error. When you actually open and close the valve, that can cause a problem. The typical patterns that we see, we'll discuss at the end of our body plethysmography and diffusion technique, and we'll go back. Keep tuned in because I'll be releasing the next one, which will be about body plethysmography. Thank you.